Come on then, good boy. Okay, so I'm out today with the my new DJI Osmo 6. New camera. I had DJI Osmo 4 before, which is a great little camera, never let me down. Now I've got the 6, which is meant to be quite a bit of an improvement on the 4. Although, like I said, I've never had any problems with the 4. Always been a good camera. Lots of different features on the Osmo 6. It's got the 1/1 sensor, so better for night shooting. Obviously might not be getting the best view at the moment as walking into bright sunlight. Recording in 4K, 30 FPS. Got my mic 2 hooked up to it. So just see how it goes, have a little walk around. So once I get out the sun's even brighter in my eyes, I can't see. Come on, Peggy, this way, mate. Go on, good boy. So yeah, I got my flag yesterday for the Great Tommy Sleeper and the baseball cap for it. So I'll be looking at going on that soon. Like I say, I'm going to take Pagan with me. Give him a little bit of a camping trip, see how he gets on. He's never been camping before, but I'm sure he'll be fine. It's just keeping him settled down, really, which is the main issue, but we'll sort something out. So, went to bed last night about 10:30, 11 o'clock. There's a big ruckus going on outside, and I'd look out the bedroom window and there's a load of people fighting across the road, a lot of youths. I noticed in the Sentinel this morning, they'd reported that a machete had been seen. There's quite a few police cars on scene and everything. So, not really sure what's happened there. But, yes, ever increasingly getting more and more violent, especially with this knife crime. Obviously in the UK we have far stricter gun laws, regulation and stuff like that, unlike America. And we got the Second Amendment allowing people to carry firearms to defend themselves. And there's an argument to be had here. It's actually better having that, where people are not sure if you're carrying a weapon, and that if you attack them you might get shot. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But in the UK, because we can't carry weapons, even though there are weapons around, we know that. I think it is the case. People turn a lot more to knives and stuff, you know, for the preferred choice of weapon. So really, you know, we've just got to see, you know, what goes on with that. I think we're getting to a time we really do need to look at our laws, review our laws, you know, and see what is better for us. Go on, Pete, good boy. So even I'm not doing official news today or anything, you know, I noticed watching the Mike Graham show this morning, and British Stand and that lot. Starmer's actually come out and admitted he made the mistake of appointing Mandelson as the US ambassador, despite being warned by the intelligence services, despite being warned by the cabinet members that this has a potential to actually bring on reputational disaster. He ignored all that. But I think it shows the hypocrisy of this government, you know, the lies and the hypocrisy of the Labour government as a whole. You know, they're never going to change. And I think most people are just annoyed with the actual hypocrisy of them. You know, they do everything they can to go against what the British people want, what British people deserve. You know, they brought it, bringing in this social cohesion, which is another word really for Islamophobia, where if you say anything against the Islamic faith, you know, you're going to be done for it. And really the whole thing's about just shutting free speech down. You know, they want to pander up to the Muslims, Islamists, stuff like that, because they know our country is being invaded by these people, and they're saying, well, they're going to be the vote. You know, in the future elections, they're going to be a vote. You know, and as even Starmer said himself, you know, words from his own mouth, Muslims are the face of Great Britain these days. And it's not true. Anything but true. You know, as I've always said, and I stick by what I said, you know, I'm not a Christian in the sense of going to church and stuff like that. Okay, my beliefs are more science orientated, and the belief that, you know, we are a consciousness field. I don't prescribe to this God stuff, these prophets and stuff like that. I just don't believe in it. You know, I believe we are an everlasting field of consciousness, you know, which produces energy. And obviously that produces matter. And that's what I believe in. But they're my own beliefs. You know, and I'm happy with them. I can get on. You know, I'm not against any religion. People want to believe in a religion. That is fine. I do know for a lot of people religion is a comfort for them. It's something to turn to in times of need. Something to go to. And it does set morals for a lot of people. But when you've got a religion being forced upon you, you know, that's wrong. And the thing is, you know, our country is based on, come on pagan, our country is based on Christian values. More so, a more gentler form of a Christian constitution. And they give us our laws. And they protect us. You know, the Constitution even says that no foreign power shall attempt to take over and blah, 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 blah. Okay? But they're allowing this to happen. You know, this is why people like Lammy are trying to scrap judiciary system, because they want it more easy to lock somebody up for saying something that other people are going to get offended by. You know, I believe in what Ricky Gervais says. Offence cannot be given, it can only be taken. You know, and these people take offence very, very easily. You know, it's like the left-wingers. They take offence, but they can't argue a situation because they are so dumb, brainwashed. They cannot hold an intellectual conversation without getting erratic, without getting violent. You know, and you got to look at it as well. You know, if you look back 1950s, 1960s, when communism was starting to spread in America, before it was brought down, the tactics they used were, if anybody says anything against you, you call them racist, you call them fascist, you call them Nazis. And it's been used as a weapon of words to try and shut other people up. Other people who may not have the same virtues, the same ideology as others. And it's just a tactic. But these people are the true fascists. They actually follow the same, how shall we say, ways as the Nazis. But if they call it you, it means they're getting away with this. So I think the way we need to look at it today is when some lefty turns around and says, you're fascist, you're a Nazi, and all this lot, we should probably take it more as a compliment in one sense. I don't mean it literally, but take it as a compliment and that you're doing something right. Because they're just really saying what they are themselves. And it's just name calling. And we shouldn't get wound up by it. It's been politically encouraged because they don't want the right wing. The right wing stands for more logic, principles, morality, whether you're a Christian or not. You know, in Great Britain, UK, we will happily take on foreign people of any skin colour, of any ethnicity, as long as you follow our British values in our British country, then there should be no arguments. You know, we'll take anybody on board who believes in our values, our traditions, our ways of life. And that should be absolutely fine. There should be no argument with that. And I think the majority of people, of course you're going to have some far-right extremist values, but you're always going to get the extreme. Okay, but what's happening now, the left wing are becoming more extreme in what they're saying. You know, just take a couple of things, you know, for instance, you know, this transgender thing, you know, and how it's being pushed in the classrooms. You know, nobody with an ounce of common sense should be advocating for children to be told it's okay to dress up as the opposite sex. It's okay to say you are the opposite sex. Of course, there's going to be some cases where this is legitimised, you know, because of a medical condition, and that's fine. I don't think anybody's worried about that. But to advocate and confuse children at an early stage of development and say, well, it's up to you if you want to be a boy or a girl. No, it isn't. You're a boy or you're a girl. Your genetics, your chromosomes tell you if you're a boy or a girl. But then to go on and tell them, well, you can use things like puberty blockers. You know, and you see these trans people, you know, years on, they're all on walking sticks because they've been taking things, either estrogen blocker, puberty blockers or estrogen. And that decreases bone density. So the legs, the backs become very weak. Now, in a nutshell, that's self-harm. You know, and you see them, a lot of them have got walking sticks. I mean, I've got a walking stick, but that's because I've got the ataxia, just from a balance. But the truth of the matter is, leave it, come on. The truth of the matter is, you know, I bet most of them are on PIP, DWP, because they've done something to themselves which has now caused them to be disabled. And to be honest, these people shouldn't be able to claim. You've made a conscious decision yourself to do this. You know, I do agree with PIP, I do agree with DWP where it's needed, especially PIP. You know, if somebody's got limitations, they're disabled, you know, like myself, I am today. I can't drive. Like I've been told I can't work again because of my condition. And that's fair enough. You know, if I could, I really would. Because I miss the social aspect of working. I miss that getting up, having something to do, and something in my life that I have to do, whether I like it or not. Gives you a focus. But you know, you see a lot of these lefties, whether it be students or these little nerds who just want to change the world they live in. They don't like it. They must change it. You know, and they'll argue against absolutely everything. And you know, that's not right. Most of them don't work. This is why you see them in numbers at protests. Even though they're being shipped around by paid for coaches and minibuses and stuff like that, paid for by the unions, and which the government is supporting because they want to push this agenda. Okay, they could do it because they don't work. They get sacked if they go to work because they say, well, you can't say that, you can't do this to bosses and stuff like that. And people aren't stupid. Come on, this way now, this way. You know, people are not stupid. Bosses know who they are, what they're like. And I know there's going to be more trouble than anything else to hire, because they know they're going to try and hold them over a barrel with DEI and stupid rules. So they won't employ them. You know, that's a fact. So all they've got to do, well, the only thing they can do in life is protest. And that's what they do. Same with students. A lot of these students, to go on these courses, they're not going to amount to anything, because the courses they do are absolutely irrelevant to life. You know, to progressing the human species into better things, into sorting problems out. Not all of them, some of them will do sciences and stuff like that. And for them it's an excuse to get into something which you don't have to get the hands dirty, you don't have to work. you know, so on and so forth. And this is what we find. And these are the people which are trying to change our country. You know, at the end of the day, we should all get on, really. Everybody's entitled to their own views and their own opinions. That's right, but we shouldn't take offence because somebody else has got a different opinion to us. But they do. And that's where, you know, society is falling down. And obviously when this type of society, you know, the left-wing ideology and stuff like that, the woke ideology, they start taking over, leave it. And then our governments actively support it. Maybe not directly, but definitely through the unions and stuff like that. We've got to say, well, these people are going to potentially be the leaders of the future. You know, and they can't argue. But it is what it is, and we have to get on with it. But, you know, we need to take our country back. We need to get our values back, our traditions, our morality. British way of doing things. You know, regardless of what country you're from, regardless of what ethnicity you are, you know, if you live here, then you should abide by our values. And if you don't like them, then piss off. It's as simple as that. Go to somewhere that does support your ideology. So, moving on. Like I said, I wasn't going to do a news thing, but I thought I'd get it in there. Come on, Pagan. Pagan, come on. I thought I'd get something in there today. Just testing the camera, obviously, today. So just a bit of content to go with it. Come on, we'll go through here. Good boy. Come on, good boy. So, not facing the sun now, so I want to see how the colours look. If I need to apply certain looks to it or correct. I'm running it on high quality D-Log M, which means you can change colour profiles on it. As with DJI, getting words out, Osmo 6. It has got a variable aperture. I've got a heat sensor on. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how this footage comes out. Probably a few settings I need to play around with. So this is my first take of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing how it all comes together. I'm going to keep the DJI Osmo 4 action cam. It's a great little cam. You know, and to have two cameras going, I think it's going to be ideal. So I'm going to turn it off now. And then I'll have a look. I'll edit it and get it out to you. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.